More on that in a minute.
Blog Talk Radio.
Enough of that. Good afternoon. Welcome to Desperate House Witches. I'm Raina Star, so you don't have to be. Desperate House Witches is not a G, PG, or even an R-rated show. So, bad language, bodily function, dirty talk of any kind might offend you. This is not the show for you. But that's why you're here. I know it. Desperate House Witches is brought to you by the amazingly wicked one, the incredible Dorothy Morrison. Please check out www.dorothymorrison.com for all of your Dorothy Morrison needs and books. And you can still get Wicked Witch Mojo products at your local retailer that deals in such witchy paraphernalia. And if they don't have it, tell them you want it. Anyway, hello everyone. Happy Friday. I have with me another one of my amazing friends who has been very kind while I've been going through all my shit this year, the incredible Deborah Blake. Hello, madame.
Hello, madame. How are you doing now?
I'm better now. I really appreciate you rescheduling with me. It has just been, as we were just talking about, a rather roller coaster beginning of the year for me, but since we're already about to be in June, I am hoping that the second half is smooth sailing.
I'm sure it will be, she said, hopefully, with her fingers crossed.
Yeah, I know. Me too. But go ahead and tell everybody what you've been up to, because apparently it's been a lot.
When was the last time we talked? I don't even remember.
It's been a while. It's been a good minute. It's probably been since last year.
Okay. Well, it's been sort of a busy year for me too. Trying to remember which things came out when. So I've had a couple of new books out, I think, since I talked to you. I had the Eclectic Witches Book of Shadows Companion, which obviously went with the Eclectic Witches Book of Shadows. And, that was a fun book because when I put out the Eclectic Witches Book of Shadows, everybody loved it. It's so beautiful. It's a hardcover. But the whole point was you were supposed to be able to write in it. You were supposed to be able to add your own experiences and the information you gathered. And it was so beautiful, nobody wanted to write in it. So they all went, can't you do something we can write in? So I put out the companion book, which is a paperback and also has not just more information and more cool stuff, but coloring book stuff. I mean, there's pages you can color, and there's lots of places where you can, add your own information as you continue your journey and learn cool things, possibly from my other books. I don't know. So we also had Llewellyn's Little Book of Witchcraft, which came out, was it the end of last year? Was it March? I don't know. It's been a blur. What's really funny is I have like a whole bunch of things coming out at once. Next year I literally have one thing coming out in January and nothing else at all that I know of. So I'm going to be sitting there going, what? But yeah, this year's been a little crazy. And just recently, my second Oracle deck, the the Everyday Witches Familiars Oracle came out. That has artwork with Elisabeth Alba, who has also done the Everyday Witch Tarot and the Everyday Witch Oracle with me. And the Everyday Witches Familiars Oracle just came out on the 8th of this month, unless you'd ordered it from Amazon, which it came out like a week ago. Thank you, Amazon. I mean, it's a minor issue compared to what you've been dealing with, but annoying as all get out because people kept going, but I pre-ordered it. Where's my copy? And I'm like, I don't know. We sent it to them. But everybody who ordered it from Llewellyn got it right away, so yay. But yeah, the people are very, very happy with the Everyday Witches Familiar. We've been getting a great response to it. I'm so pleased because the thing about decks is they take about 3 years. A book takes 2. Most people don't realize that between writing it and then, having it edited and, having it sent to the printer. It's usually about 2 years between you starting your work on your darling and having it actually be in anybody else's hands. But the tarot and oracle decks take 3 years because somebody has to paint a whole bunch of original paintings. Not me. Nobody wants stick figure witches. But Elisabeth Alba has to paint, for a tarot deck, she has to paint 78 paintings. For the oracle deck, she only had to do 40, and actually 41 because she has to paint the back of the cards too.
Indeed.
And on top of that, in a only semi-witchy related fashion, I also got the rights back to my Baba Yaga novel series, which are paranormal romance, and so I've been slowly reissuing those with new covers and putting them out myself, and so that's, I'm pretty sure people are like, well, she never shut up. Where are all the cat pictures?
Well, I can't really agree with that because, first of all, this deck is phenomenal, just saying.
We are so pleased with the way it turned out. We really, we loved the tarot deck. We loved the first oracle deck. There was something about this one. We had so much fun working on it, for one thing. It's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but we make such a great team. This is why we're doing our third deck together, is because we've just decided we really like working together. In fact, she came to visit me last weekend. She and her husband and her 2 little boys had a friend about an hour from here because they live in Massachusetts and I live in upstate New York. And it was the first time we'd seen each other since February 2020. So, all of this stuff is done basically, via, online, lots of emails back and forth, Google spreadsheets and the occasional Zoom chat where we go, okay, let's go down what we've got now and see what we need, trying to figure out which 40 animals we were going to use. Insanely hard.
No doubt. Did she draw, or did she give you a layout first, or did you give her ideas of how you wanted
Well,
it to translate?
It's sort of funny, actually, because the first deck we did together, the tarot deck, that was one where I literally did everything first, including saying, okay, this is what the picture is supposed to look like. She hadn't done any decks before that. She'd done lots of art. But it was actually my first deck too. But that's the way it often is done. At least with Llewellyn, is that the author says, okay, here's the idea, here's what I want the pictures to look like, and then the artist does the pictures. And it worked out perfectly. Occasionally she'd say, oh, can I do this? Can I give the witch stripy stockings or whatever? But that was sort of mostly me, and then her incredible artwork. The first oracle we did, it was still like, say, 3/4 me, but she had, we talk more about the ideas of the pictures, because oracles are very different from tarot. The tarot, if you're basing it on the Rider-Waite, which we were, you at least know, there's the Empress, and there's the 10 of Swords is somehow going to have 10 swords and probably look pretty unhappy. When you're doing an oracle, you can do whatever you want, basically. And then with the familiars, this deck was actually her idea, the topic. We had pitched a different tarot idea, which they didn't love at Llewellyn. I don't know why, but that's fine. And that one was my idea. And she came up and said, what about doing witches familiars? Because she goes through phases with what she's painting, and she'd been painting a lot of animals. And I said, I think that, obviously I love animals, but I'm not sure if I know how to write a book for that. And we sort of batted it back and forth, did a couple of samples, picked two animals. One was the sea turtle, which is one of my favorite, there's something about sea turtles. I have them like on my altar. They're very cool. And what was the second one? The second one was, I don't know. Anyway, so we sent Llewellyn two samples with, her pictures and my writing, and they absolutely loved it. And so then what happened was she actually, we decided which animals we were going to do. So that was the first step. And we did something a little different with this deck. With the first oracle, we had 40 cards divided into earth, air, fire, and water themes. And so, there'd be, a card with, somebody in the bath doing, cleansing and rejuvenation or whatever. With this, we did earth, air, fire, and water, but we also took 4 of the cards and made them spirit. And those, instead of being sort of everyday animals like cats, dogs, lions, bears, birds, whatever, those we actually used mythological animals. We did unicorns, sphinx, dragon, and phoenix. And those were really cool. I mean, that was, and, so it was much more of a equal collaboration, I would say, this time. I didn't tell her what to put in the pictures at all. Once we'd agreed on the animals and what they were going to symbolize, what the message each animal would have, was going to be. For instance, like you'd have, the dog would symbolize, companionship and, loyalty, dependability, that kind of thing. So that's an earth card. And, the dragonfly was magic, of air kind of thing. And at that point, I just let her go to town. And every once in a while, there'd be something that I'd say, that needs a slightly more magical element. Can we put sparkles in it, or can we add this, or can we add that? For the most part, she just came up with these incredible pictures, and you've seen the deck. They're so cool, and they're so magical. I love, obviously the cat, one of my favorite creatures on the planet Earth, but it's not just a black cat. It's a black cat that's, sitting on, like a witch's work table or something, and there's, smoke, and there's a book of shadows, and there's candles and crystals. There's just all this detail, and you sort of glance at it, and you go, oh, yeah, that's a cat, and it's magical, but then you start seeing all the little details. So wonderful. So, we are extremely pleased, not just with how it looks, as far as, the cards and things, but Llewellyn's art department did an amazing job with, like, the guidebook that I wrote. They made the pages different colors according to, like, which thing it was. The earth pages are green, and I'm like, I didn't even ask for that. That was just, and, the way they did sort of the little frame around the picture on the cover, so pretty. Mm-hmm. So we are pretty excited about this deck. I won't kid you.
Well, I got to tell you, you just gave away so many vagrants, because I looked at this and I'm like, oh, look, he did one for every point of the pentacle. Oh, how smart. This was so clever. And I really thought that you had designed it that way, with the colors being different to correspond of the element.
Llewellyn did it that way on purpose, but it was like, and we might have talked about it back in the day, but again, the process is so long. We were talking about the production a year ago, more than a year ago, how the book was going to look, and I knew that it was going to be full color. But I don't remember them telling me that they were going to make everything as spiffy as it is. It's just, I will say that it's very tiny. They fit a lot into a small-sized book. And so I've already had 2 people say to me, "Oh, my God, the print is so small."
Really?
I wish it weren't, but you can still read it. You just might need to hold it close to your nose if you're old like I am.
Well, I'm old like you are, so no.
But, so, each card has, like, a couple of suggestions for interpretations, like a divination interpretation and just a message. And, then, a little description of the animal. And, of course, from there, everybody is welcome to, interpret it however they want to, because that's the thing about doing divination or, using oracle cards in general is that, your intuition counts at least as much as anything I put in the book, maybe more. Oh, definitely more. Who am I kidding? So, if you look at the dog and you think it's telling you something different than what I wrote down there, then absolutely go with what you thought. Because there's no wrong answers.
Absolutely. And I did a reading for myself last night, and I used 3 card spread. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I had the horse, the rabbit, not the rabbit, I had the horse, the penguin, and the stag in that order. And I'm like, isn't this fucking interesting? And I was loving it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, the horse is a lot about, movement and letting you, going out of your comfort zone. Gee, you haven't been doing that at all. No, not at all. And what was the second one?
The second one was penguin.
I love the penguin. I mean, I love them all. They're all my favorite. But, it's, the penguin is all about, being social and joyous with other people and, just, jumping into things. So have you been doing that?
Well, yeah, because I was reunited with my family.
Oh, true.
After being estranged for, part of the family I'd never met, my sister, till last December. And I know, isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just wild.
The joke is my mother gave away kids like newspapers. Yeah, it was interesting because she had a son before me, and which no one ever knew about until after she had died. Well, actually, we found out after her sister died because her sister was holding all the proof.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. But, and then we found out, I mean, I knew I had a sister somewhere, and it was kind of one of those things of, oh, your family's so full of shit, we don't even know if that's actually real. And I'm like, no, I remember. I was a kid, but I remember.
Right.
I was pregnant. I remember. So,
that's
wild. It was kind of vindicating when I finally found her. And I don't work for Ancestry.com, but if you have a curiosity out there, I suggest you go try it. I have tried 23andMe. Not my favorite. Some people that
I used that one, and I mean, it was fine. I didn't find out anything I didn't know already. My life is way more, my family life is way more boring than yours, which is okay. I'm fond of boring. So what was your third card?
My third card was the stag.
Oh, I love the stag. Strength and power from the earth.
Yep,
and standing firm in the face of trouble. Gee,
yeah,
none of this pertains to you at all.
None of it, not a thing. Holy
That's
crap.
wild.
I know. That's, and it's part of my job is to, like, before I can recommend something, I have to know if I like it. And
right.
I love your writing, obviously. You've been on 2, 3, this might be even your 4th visit. It's been a while, but
yeah, it's getting up there.
We're getting up there, but
every 2 or 3 years, whether you need me or not.
Well, no, I need you. I need you. I definitely need you. But this deck, I don't know. This deck just hit me different from everything else you've done. It was just so special and so, I don't know, it just kind of like tuned in. And
there is something about this, and we knew as we were working on it, we had that feeling with the first tarot deck. We knew we were onto something really special, and people still love that deck. It's been out since, 2017 or 2019, okay. and people still all the time say, I've been trying for years to learn tarot and I could never connect with it, and I could connect with your deck, which is one of the nicest things anybody could ever say about a deck as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, when we were working on this, it really was magical. The flow of it was, I'm not going to say it was effortless because it was a lot of hard work, but it really did just roll for us. And as we got closer and closer and we started seeing, more, of the production and things, we were just, we had a feeling. And yeah, it came out, debuted at #1 release on Amazon and Wicca, which is sort of funny to me because it's not Wiccan, I think they use Wicca as this sort of blanket term for anything witchcraft related. It's not Wiccan, but it's not, it is in no way, specific to Wicca. It's witchy, but even people who are not witchy will, I think, be able to use this deck. It's not, even though, yes, it's called the Everyday Witches Familiars because it came out from me. But, and, the idea of familiars is a very witchy thing, but the idea of connecting with animal spirit is not in any way limited to witches or witchcraft.
Absolutely.
Animal spirit is in, virtually every spiritual culture. Obviously not, Christianity, but, like Native Americans and many of the other cultures across the world, relate to messages from animals, from pretty much every country that I can think of, Africa, Celtic things, So, I tell people you don't have to be a witch to get, benefit from this deck. Yes, the illustrations have sort of a magical tilt to them because it's us. But, all animals are magical in one way or another. Just ask my 5 cats. They will tell you how magical they are when they wake me up at 5 a.m. for no particular reason. That's magic. Look, you can magically get out of bed and feed us early, right? You're awake now.
So true. But, one of the things that kind of threw me was the title kind of threw me because I thought it was going to be, this is obviously before I even saw the deck.
Right.
When I heard the title, I thought it was going to be mostly household familiars, and it's not. So
some people thought it was going to be all cats. I had a lot of people say, "Is it just going to be cats?" And let's face it, if you've seen our other decks, there's a lot of cats in them. That's it's a fair question. But no, what we wanted was basically that idea that you could get a spiritual boost from all kinds of different animals, even ones you didn't necessarily get to meet in person, like, say, a lion or a unicorn. I mean, I haven't met a unicorn. Maybe you have. I don't know. Dragons, yes, but unicorns, no.
No. But because of the misnomer in my brain, again, as you just described, I was prepared for something totally different. And as someone who has not had a familiar living with me in many years, I was wondering if I was going to be able to relate to this. And then I get
Surprise!
it, and I open it up, and I'm like, this is phenomenal. I love it. This is not at all what I imagined it was going to be because it's us.
Right.
You know
well,
what I mean?
Hopefully nobody else thought, oh, I don't have a familiar and therefore I can't use this deck. I mean, I had a familiar for a long time, my cat Magic, the cat queen of the universe. But I have 5 cats now, and not one of them is a familiar, even though 3 of them are black. I really feel like I should get my money back. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Are you moving? I can't hear you. You sound like you're in the hole. That's very strange. Can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to ask the guest to call back in. Well, that was insane. Anyway, I'm hoping that Deborah Blake calls back in. I apologize for that sound. I don't know where it came from, but I no longer hear it, so I'm going to guess it's on that end of the line. But this oracle deck is so beautiful and lovely, and you don't have to have a personal familiar in your home to appreciate and enjoy this deck. I mean, she calls on all of the creatures of the land and sea and mythology for spirit. So I thought that was really unique and beautiful, and it is just so well done. But it doesn't hit you over the head. The book is written in such a way that it's really easy to get along with, if you know what I mean. It gives you enough detail to know what the animal should be about or a part of your vision, as you would a phoenix or a dragon or a dog or an otter or a rabbit. But then it gives you this idea of the divination and how it can fit into your reading. Or if you're just pulling one card, doing just the message, just a suggestion. How do you feel about this? Do you relate this to animal? Do you relate to this
a
animal?
lot of times when I use an oracle deck as opposed to a tarot deck, I often just pull one card. I either want, a message for the day or some inspiration or, I don't know, like a hint. So, and of course, from having read a few of my other books, that I am all about making things accessible. I don't want people to have to work really hard to get the message. I want to have them open the book and go, oh, of course that's what it's trying to tell me.
Yeah, it's to the point. And I love things that are straightforward and to the point. And it's so well done. And it's not word salad, and it's not 9 million miles above my head, because you know how much I love that.
Well, and I don't love that either, which is why I don't write that. I mean, I write the books I would want to read is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And I much prefer, let's put it this way. If you met me in person, you would probably recognize me from my books, because I am also very straightforward. Pretty much what you see is what you get. There's all right, there are probably extra words. I do babble when I'm tired, and I'm always tired, so there's a lot of babbling. But other than the not having extra words, the the decks are me on a page, and I put my whole heart and soul into them. So it's always nice when people like them, because when they don't like them, I don't take it personally, because you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine. There's a country song that says, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Why would you want to be? And that's sort of, and that's one of the things you realize, again, as you get a little bit older, is that, not only is it pointless to try and please everybody, but why would you care? I mean, I like it better when people like my stuff. If they don't like my oracle deck, there are so many beautiful oracle decks out there. They should just go find one they do like. That doesn't hurt my feelings at all. Do I like it better if they love my deck? Of course I do. And shockingly enough, my publisher likes it better when they like my deck. We're very fond of people, buying my decks, because then, we make a little bit of money, and then I get to do another one.
Right, exactly. And it's really, and you don't need a degree, and you don't have to know everything. You don't even have to know much of anything to be able to use this deck. And I mean that as such a compliment, because I can hand this to someone who is not a practicing witch and say, here, check it out, and know for a fact that they will be able to use it, enjoy it, not feel weird about it, because there's nothing in here that is off-putting in any kind of way. I mean, and it isn't.
It's magical, but it isn't like performing spells magical. It's more like everyday magical. And my hope is that a lot of people who are not necessarily witchcraft inclined will still be able to use it and enjoy it. I mean, obviously all the witches must get it, but it's the thing. But we on purpose tried to make it sort of non-threatening and accessible to people outside of the community. I mean, Elisabeth is not a witch. She's a lovely human being. But nope, she is not a witch. She's, obviously very witch friendly. This is, she also did the Tarot of the Owls with Pamela Chen, I think, which was very nice. And she's now, we've basically pulled her into our community because we love her work so much. We're like, nope, sorry, you're ours now. You crossed the magic doorway and have come into our world, and you will never get to leave again. Which is fun. But she is not a witch, so it's nice that there's always the this non-witchy person who, if there's anything that might be alarming in some way, can say, well, although she never has. So she brings a sensibility to the cards that is a little bit different than mine. We're coming from slightly different worlds, and I think that just makes them even better.
Yes, and the thing that I love, first of all, I love her work. I've spoken with Pamela.
She's amazing. She's, she is totally truly. Incredible. I don't know if I ever told you the story of that first deck and how we came to work together. Llewellyn had actually asked me if I wanted to do a tarot deck, and I was like, what? Okay. And at first I was like, oh, I'm too busy writing novels. And then I went, oh, you idiot. You can have your own tarot deck. You'll be the coolest person in the room. Say yes. So they said, we have 4 different artists that we're looking at. None of them have worked with us before, but we've been, sort of keeping an eye on their work. We think they do a good job with tarot. We haven't asked them yet, but we're going to give you links to their websites, and you can look at them, and you can tell us which one you prefer, if any. And we're not promising to get you to work with that person, but you get first voice of opinion kind of thing. And I went, well, that's cool. And I went to Elisabeth's website first, and she had these fairy tale pictures and like illustrations from, you know, stories, you know, that we all grew up with, you know, and I looked at the paintings and they were so incredible. I literally didn't even bother to look at the other three artists, and I emailed Llewellyn back and I went, please, pretty please, get me her. I'm begging you, please, I don't care, you know, like who I have to sleep with, just get me her. And thankfully, when they asked her, she said yes, and, you know, the rest is history. But her work is amazing. I mean, if you follow her on Instagram, you'll see her post things, you know, from, you know, she has this great Patreon. We both have Patreons, and she has a level where you can get mini paintings. I have, I think, 4 of them, at least 4, and they're really tiny. They're like, I don't know, 3 inches by 4 inches or something like that, and you know, if you pay a certain amount for 4 months in a row, then you get a painting. And she posts those, and sometimes they're magical or whimsical. Sometimes they're just like, she did this one that was a man and sitting under a tree reading to his little boy. So beautiful. So beautiful. So, yeah, you should follow her on her Patreon. You should follow me on my Patreon, too. But definitely follow her. She's really interesting. And, yeah, everything she paints is just so wonderful. And she happens, as a bonus, to just be a sweetheart. You know, she is such a pleasure to work with. You know, collaborations are tricky. You know, working with other human beings, very tricky. We have literally never had one disagreement in all the years we've worked together. I mean, there are times when one of us will say, oh, I'm not sure if that's quite right, and then we'll talk about it until we figure out, you know, a compromise, or, you know, the one that cares more goes, really, I want it to look like this, and the other one goes, okay. You know, but, yeah, she is really just so fun and so lovely, and yeah, people should be following her on all the things. You know, she's on Instagram and TikTok and the thing formerly known as Twitter. I don't know what we're calling it now, and Facebook. Yeah, we basically follow each other around the internet and repost each other's things. So if you follow me, you're going to find her.
Yeah, which is great. It's great to have, you know, people in the genre that you can be supportive of who are collaborative as opposed to having it be a competition. A lot of the time in the Wiccan or pagan writing world.
Yeah, see, and I am an absolute believer in that phrase, a rising tide raises all boats, lifts all boats, whatever, however it goes. A rising tide lifts all boats. I am huge in promoting other authors and supporting other authors, you know, both in the witchcraft field and, you know, in fiction. And, you know, I've written blurbs for other people's books and, you know, done the occasional intro or something, because I think the more any of us succeeds, the more we all succeed. It really isn't a competition. I mean, yes, technically, if you want to look at it, people only have so many dollars to spend on books and decks, and if they buy somebody else's book, they might not buy mine. That's fine. You know, if my books appeal to them, hopefully they'll get around to them sooner or later. But in the meanwhile, that doesn't mean I'm not going to say, oh, my God, you know, Matt Oren is wonderful. Go buy his book.
I often tease Matt Oren about being the James Brown of you know, witchcraft, because he's like the hardest working man in showbiz. He is,
but he's also incredibly, I mean,
Wonderful.
something about him has touched a lot of people. He has shot up so much. I mean, I've been doing this a really long time. At this point, I'm working on my 18th nonfiction book, if you could believe that. I've got the 3 decks. We're starting to work on a new tarot, and that's not even counting the fiction. And he has so many more followers than I do, and he's so popular. But, I just say more power to him. That's fabulous. I don't know how he did it. I'd like to know, because I'd like to be that popular. I mean, you can't, turn around without being hit over the head with one of my books, and he's still I think he's got 2 out now, and everybody knows who he is. But, but it's one of those things he touched. There was obviously a space waiting for him, and he filled it, with charm and wit and smarts and a real connection to people. And, I just, sit on the sidelines and cheer. I think that's, I've never met him in person, but, from all of our conversations online, he seems lovely.
Oh, he is. I mean, I've not met him in person either, but, here's the thing. You get somebody with the right combination, because you and I have been around for a really long time. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. But back in the day, and tell me if I'm wrong, but back in the day, folks like you and me, we didn't want to, it wasn't about scaring people. It wasn't about aesthetic. It was about, we really wanted to just be left alone to believe what we wanted to believe. And
oh, yeah. Well, and my thing has always been, a focus on trying to help people find their way, their own particular path. And if I can help people do that, that's wonderful.
Absolutely. But
he's definitely got a better, I think, grasp on, the public, interaction and, doing all the internet stuff. I mean, I do it. I'm not great at it. I post a lot of cat pictures because I have a really boring life, and therefore, that's what you get, or pictures of my cats and the work I'm having done on my house. Oh, look, I expanded the pond. I have a picture of the pond. And then, every once in a while I go, oh, and look, I have a new book. Please buy my book. Please buy my book so I can pay for the pond I just expanded and all the cats. But he somehow has made that connection. I don't know.
Yeah, but
I think it's great
because, I mean, he's talking to, dare I say, the younger folks. That's fine.
And I think he's reaching people that I don't necessarily reach, which is
right.
The more folks that we can reach in general, whether from podcasts like this or my books or other people's books or the decks or whatever, the more people that we can get to either go, oh, my God, this is my path, and, now I'm really happy to have found it, or to at the very least say, oh, this isn't scary. This is okay. Oh. I thought witches were scary. Oh, look, they're really not, except that Deborah Blake. She's a little scary. Oh, I don't know.
Nah, my love. You're wonderful, and you're not scary, and that's part of the point. The point was never to make people afraid. And I think that by just showing folks that we're normal like you are, we got bills and shit like everybody else.
Oh, hell yeah.
I think it demystifies and maybe takes the fear out at least a little bit for some folks, because people are like, not that anyone would really say, do you ride a broom? I've never encountered that. But people do want to know, do you make sacrifices?
Where did all those frogs in your pond come from, really? That one I just smile and go, well, I don't know, but nobody's seen any of my ex-boyfriends in years. There are a lot of frogs in my pond. I didn't date that much. I wish. But you know, I think it's one of those things. You know, I've had people say to me, you know, especially in the earlier days, "Oh, you're the first witch I've ever met," and I just laugh, and they'd say, "I doubt it." You know, I think you've probably met a bunch of witches. They just didn't happen to be wearing a pentacle and, you know, carrying a book with their name on it, so you knew they were a witch.
Exactly.
You know, but yeah, I mean, and that's part of what I try and do with my things is, to say I am just like everybody else. You know, until long COVID. Thank you very much, COVID. You know, I worked a day job. I had a mortgage. I have cats because I like cats, but I had cats long before I realized I was a witch. I just like cats a lot, but I like dogs too. You know, and there's, you know, a lot of my friends are not witches. I mean, I have my group, and then I have sort of, you know, the occasional friend who's a witch and isn't in my group. But I have plenty of friends who are something else, and, you know, that's fine. You know, I'm as long as you're not else, I have absolutely, you know, no issues with people believing whatever it is they believe. You know, it's, you know, the universe is large and mysterious, and I do not in any way, shape, or manner believe I have all the answers. I have a few of the answers.
You know,
and if you read my books, I'll tell you.
That's right. And they're really good books. But this reminds me of a conversation I was just having yesterday, and it was a fellow witch who was concerned about something that had happened. He had seen some interesting stuff, and I said, listen, don't confuse Christ with fundamentalist Christians. These are not the same thing. I'm a firm believer that if my mythology is real, then anybody else's could be real as well, just not for me.
Right.
So therefore, you know, don't confuse the practice with the symbolism. So in essence, you know, there's nothing wrong with Jesus. He's just got some followers that make me go, oh no.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of the man and his message. I just wish that more people actually followed his message that you know, say they believe in him. That's I had a friend who said something very wise to me many years ago, and she's a Christian, not a witch, although I will say she's a Christian with extremely witchy leanings, and she's probably witchier now than she used to be. But she said that she believed that deity came to each of us in the form that we could best understand and connect with. And I absolutely believe that. So for me, it's God and Goddess. It's, you know, various different deities, you know, depending on, you know, what time of year it is and what mood I'm in. And, yeah, sometimes they speak to me. I sometimes speak to them. But I also believe that same essence, you know, that same, you know, thing that we cannot even begin to define because we're just human beings and they are deity, is the same thing that everybody else who believes in some form of deity connects with. It just is in a different, you know, a different covering. And I'm fine with that. You know, I don't need everybody to be a witch. There's plenty of us.
Exactly. We don't really recruit from
we don't. In fact, you usually have to ask a couple of times before we really believe you're interested, and then we'll go, well, all right, I guess you can come over and see the dance around the fire. But, yeah, we definitely do not proselytize, which is one of the things that attracted me to witchcraft in the first place. You know, I mean, I got into it because I had a friend who went, you know, I do this thing. I think you'd like it. You should come, like, join my my group in a ritual sometime, and I went for a long time, and then I was ready, and I went, well, all right, and that's how we got here. But yeah, it wasn't like she said you're a witch. She's just like, oh well, there's this thing, you might want to check it out. And then after I went that first time and went, holy crap, I'm a witch. I didn't even know there was a word for what I was, and told another friend who happened to be a witch, and she went, oh yeah, I've known that for years. And I went, well, why didn't you tell me? And she said, because you can't. You can't tell somebody they're a something. They have to figure it out for themselves. So luckily for everyone who reads my books, I did eventually figure it out. I was just a little slow.
No, you know what? Listen, my mother started off as a pagan, converted to Christianity. Don't even get me started. It was a disaster. So she didn't really let all of it go, because after she passed away, we found some rather witchy stuff in the house that remained. Like for example, a statue of Eros was very prominently displayed on her main table, and no one else knew what it was but me. And I brought Eros home with me since. Oh yeah, I mean, you can take the person out of it, but you can't really take it out of the person. It's part of what your belief system originally was. There's always something kind of lingering in there somewhere if you ever enjoyed and appreciated it, which I'm sure she did. But the fact of the matter is that I love being able to have a conversation with someone who's not necessarily believing the same thing I do religiously, but we can both share these ideas about what beauty means to you, what beauty means to me. And I just, back in the day, all we wanted was understanding. We did not look to be
we just wanted to be able to practice what we believed and, not get burned at the stake, basically. We just wanted the freedom to believe what we believed without anybody giving us a hard time. That was all. I mean, we didn't want everybody to believe it, too. We didn't want everybody to, jump on board. We just wanted to be left alone to do what we wanted to do.
And I think we're closer to that now than we've ever been in history.
Which is interesting considering how many steps backwards are being taken in so many other areas, and yet somehow not yet, at least. I mean, but for the moment, I think there are enough of us that we're all right. Although you think that about women too, and apparently it's not true. So
I know. Well, certain things.
Yeah, we won't get started on that, or we'll be ranting for the whole rest of the show. But yeah, I love the fact that I can be openly who I am, and I very rarely have an issue because of it.
And it's wonderful, and I'm just so glad we're at that place, at least now, where people just don't go running and screaming into the night. And I live in the South, so it would be even more so, but
I mean, New York State isn't bad, although I do live in a rural area. Now, thankfully, the city nearest me has 2 colleges in it, so it tends to be a little bit more progressive. Now, as soon as you go a couple of miles out of the city to where I live in the countryside, not so much with the progressive. It's on the other hand, it's for the most part, it really has, like the workmen who come into my house obviously see all my witchy things, and nobody's ever said to me, I'm not going to work for you, lady. Your money's no good here.
Right.
They're all just like, okay, if you can sign this check, then I don't care. And, that's great. That's, my thing is I'm just trying to make the world better one book and one deck at a time.
It's working. It's working, I have to tell you. You're one of my favorite people. You're certainly one of my favorite authors, and I love this
Well,
stuff.
thank you. Well, just so you know, I do have one more book coming out this year in July. I did Llewellyn's Little Book of Witchcraft, and now the Llewellyn's Little Book of Spellcraft is coming out in the beginning of July. I had a lot of fun working on that one because I love writing spells. You know, I had the Everyday Witch A to Z spell book, which was my second book. Good Lord, that was a long time ago. And of course there are, my first book, Circle, Coven, and Grove, which actually was out of print for a while and just got re-released by Crossed Crow Books. They re-released my 2 out-of-print pagan books, Circle, Coven, and Grove, and Witchcraft on a Shoestring. So they're back out in the world. That was happy. And, there's spells in a lot of my books, but in the Llewellyn's Little Book of Spellcraft, I talk a lot about, what a spell is and, ways you can cast them, how you can create your own, and then there are also spells in the book, but it's sort of a, all the questions you ever wanted to know about spellcrafting and were afraid to ask. I don't know, something. But, it's obviously great for beginners, but it's also great for people who maybe, have been practicing for a long time but never really felt comfortable writing their own spells. It also is a cute little hardcover and would make a wonderful gift. I'm just saying.
I'm just agreeing. Because sometimes a witch is too goddamn tired to fucking throw her own, and sometimes you just need somebody to start you off. I'm just saying.
I'll tell you, sometimes, when my group comes over and we're going to do, we've got the summer solstice coming up, and I am really tired right now, I'm going to look up one of my old spells, and I'll use that. I often go back to my old rituals, many of which end up in my books, and I'm like, well, what did I say we were going to do? Oh, good, we did that, and I could take a piece of this one and a piece of that one, because, sometimes I get bright new ideas, and sometimes I don't. But actually, we were just talking about deity, and the book that I am just starting to work on, which won't be out for a couple of years, is the Everyday Witch's Book of Deity. Because I was trying to figure out what I hadn't written about yet. Because, when you get up to book number 18, I'm like, well, I wrote about spells, I wrote about rituals, I wrote about cats, I wrote about brooms. What's left? So I'm going to do a deity book, which should be, fun and interesting, although way more research than most of my books, and I don't really love research. Most of my books are just me babbling. But so that will be really cool. And in January of next year, I've got A Year and a Day of Everyday Magic, which is another 365 book. I don't know if you have my Year and a Day of Everyday Witchcraft, which came out.
I do. What are you talking about?
Yes, well, and that one came out in 2017, and people have been saying to me for years, I use this every year and I love it, but, I've used it every year for a bunch of years. Could you write a new one? And, I finally talked Llewellyn into it. They kept saying, but you've already got one of those. Nobody's going to want it. It'll be the same thing. And I went, no, I'll make it different. So I made it different. So that'll be out in January, and that was pretty fun, too. Although, again, coming up with 365 different things to talk about, I got halfway through the book, and I went, well, who thought this was a good idea? Why did I say I would do this? The biggest problem was I was writing that one after my second bout with COVID and my second bout with long COVID, and my brain was not working. I mean, not only was I more tired and in more pain, but my brain was like, I already have fibromyalgia brain fog and menopause brain fog, And then there was this on top of it, and trying to string two sentences together. It was so hard, and I knew I was struggling, and I knew that it was much more work than usual. But, I finally finished it and did all my revisions and sent it off to my beloved Llewellyn editor. And then at the beginning of this year, must have been January or February, she finally got back to me with edits. And the first thing she said was, "Are you burned out? You can tell me if you're burned out." And I went, "Oh, crap, how bad was it?" And it was bad. It was really bad because my brain wasn't working right. But thankfully, it's gotten enough better that I could look at it and go, "Oh, yeah, you're right. I duplicated that thing. That's almost exactly word from the first book. What?" And I made it better, so the book that's coming out in January will be wonderful and everybody will love it. But, oh, dear God, it was a hot mess.
Oh, wow. And
it's sometimes it's more of a struggle than others.
But you know what? That's okay, because that makes it real and it makes it human. And the fact
that's, as you know from the last year, sometimes that's life.
Yeah.
Things don't always go as planned.
Oh, yeah.
You probably haven't noticed that in your life, but I'm just letting you know in case it comes up someday. But yeah, in the meanwhile, the Familiars deck came out, and it is shiny and wonderful and exactly what we wanted it to be. And I didn't mess that one up, so yay for that. Yeah, that was written pre-COVID. So
seriously, all kidding aside, the Everyday Witches Familiars Oracle deck is just so beautiful, and the book that comes with it. Please make sure you are buying genuine stuff. Folks, it is breaking my heart to see how many people are going on Amazon not knowing if they are buying the real thing. Please verify your sources. You can go
make
to
sure
your
that
author,
it says it is out from Llewellyn, that the seller is, it's Llewellyn. I get emails like once a week saying, "Oh, I bought your tarot deck, and it didn't come with a book, and they told me to download this QR code and I would get the book, and I didn't get it. Could you send me one?" And I have to say, I'm so sorry. First of all, it's a set. I don't have books by themselves. Even I can only get the set. And if it didn't come as a set, it wasn't the real thing. And if you paid, $8 for a $32 set, probably that should have been a clue, first of all. But also, if it doesn't come with the book, if it doesn't, if it's not anywhere as close to the price it's supposed to be. I mean, yes, Amazon discounts things a couple bucks. But if you're on one of these things like Temu or Wish, which just make me want to spit, I will not buy anything from either of those because they are full of knockoffs of books, of decks, of everything. But people have no idea how much money I'm losing, Elisabeth is losing, the publishing company is losing for these pirated copies, most of which come out of China. Some of them may come from other places. But the thing is, the author doesn't see a penny. All that hard work I put into there, somebody just stole it. And if you have, and unfortunately, I have discovered even shop owners, legitimate folks trying to sell legitimate products, occasionally get fooled too. And, one of the things I say, right now, they haven't had time to make copies of this. As far as I know, give them another 2 weeks. The tarot deck, get it from Llewellyn. That is what I tell people. The only way to guarantee that you are getting a genuine copy of the Everyday Witch Tarot is to buy it directly from Llewellyn.com, because they're going to send out the real thing. Everything else, I mean, yes, you have to look at it 2, 3, 4 times. People have sent me links to ones on Etsy that are fake. Amazon, I actually got one today. Somebody posted on Twitter, sent me a link to Amazon in Canada that there was a fake, and there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, Llewellyn tries to get them taken down, but it's like whack-a-mole. So, yeah, I beg people to, try their best to get a genuine copy. Now, most of the people I talk to don't realize they're not buying a genuine copy, but, yeah, it's supposed to have the deck. It is supposed to have the book. If you look on Llewellyn's site, you can see what it's supposed to look like. I mean, I've had people who've bought the tarot cards in a tin. They're not available in a tin. The tin looks really cool, but it doesn't have a book, and it's fake. And the cards are usually flimsy, and, I've had people who are like, well, the deck was missing 4 cards. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have extra cards lying around either. So the other thing that I tell people is if you really love something, whether it's something of mine or somebody else's, Matt, leave a quick review, because that's how other people find things. Talk about it online if you don't want to leave a review on, Amazon or Goodreads or, Barnes & Nobles or whatever. Spread the word.
Right.
Tell people you loved this and that, you got something out of it, because that's the thing, right now, because Amazon took so long to get the deck out, we don't have a lot of reviews for the new Oracle. So, yes, if somebody picks it up and loves it, if they could run over to Amazon and throw up, and it doesn't have to be long or complicated, and you can put the same interview, cut and paste in 3 different places. Nobody cares. And all you have to do is say, ooh, I love this. The artwork was great. It was great quality. Deborah Blake is brilliant, and you should read everything she's ever done. All right, you don't have to put that part.
Absolutely. No.
But
it's encouraging.
Yeah. Well, but it is tricky, and people have to be very savvy. A lot of people are not aware that there are a lot of knockoff fake decks out there. So, yeah, do look closely at anything like that you're going to buy. And if you come across a copy of one of my books as a free download online, I guarantee you that has also been pirated, and I am not making any money off of it. And almost anything that's a download, you're probably going to get a virus. People are like, oh, look, it's free. Guess what? It's not. It's not free. And, authors and illustrators and publishers deserve to be paid. People think authors make a lot of money, and we don't need to be paid for our work. Well, first of all, even if I did make a lot of money, which I don't, I still deserve to have my work paid for. I wouldn't steal one of Stephen King's books, even though he's made a bazillion dollars, because he worked hard on that thing, and it's his. But the truth is, in publishing, the margin is actually very small, and especially when you're looking at esoteric publishing, Llewellyn and Weiser, and, we don't have a huge audience. It isn't Stephen King selling, 1 billion books every time he puts one out. It's, these publishers are doing the best they can to keep bringing everybody what they want, but if people buy knockoffs, they're going to stop putting out decks because they won't be able to afford to. Right, and that would make me cry.
I would too. It would suck. It would suck for future generations. You have to remember.
Oh, it would. It would. AI is not going to be able to come up with a Deborah Blake book.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I was going. It's, we're trying to preserve aspects of the craft. We're trying to preserve lines of thought that are genuine and human-driven as opposed to AI. And it's really important that that gets supported by folks who are interested in our topic. And in order to have Wicca survive or witchcraft survive in whatever form you practice it or don't, it has to continue, but it's got to continue legitimately through people and not through man-made devices. So it's really important to support your authors, your artists, all the people that make our wonderful stuff that we get to appreciate, and you know, the tools we use, the books we research with, the candles we burn, the incense we burn. You know, the people who make these things for us deserve some respect, and certainly deserve to earn the money for what they've created, as opposed to somebody doing it cut rate, artificially, and, you know, in such a way that
and with no heart. I mean, the thing is, witchcraft is all about heart and spirit, and you know, that's an important thing to support too. You want to support the people who are bringing their heart and spirit to the craft.
Absolutely.
And this ends your PSA for today.
Correct, and it also pretty much ends our show. But before we go, tell people how they can find you.
Well, as I said, I'm sort of everywhere, but if you want one place, you can go to my website, which is deborahblakeauthor.com. Very imaginative, I know, but that's DEBORAH Blake.author.com, and you'll find links there to, you know, all the places online. You know, I'm on Facebook as Deborah Blake and Deborah Blake Author, although really I'm mostly just there as me because I can't be bothered to maintain 2 pages. I'm just too tired. And I'm on Instagram as Deborah Blake Author, and I'm on Twitter as Deborah Blake, and I'm trying to figure out TikTok. I'm there. I think I'm Deborah Blake Author there too. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just flailing around. And I have a Patreon. I have an Etsy shop where you could get signed books and decks if that's your jam. You know, Elisabeth and I, when we got together this last weekend, double signed a bunch of decks. Hers are already almost sold out. I think I have less than 10 left, and we each did a set of all 3 decks. We've got, like, she has one of the sets of 3 left, and I have 4. So yeah, you can find that on my Etsy, and the link to that is on my website as well. I used to have a blog. I sort of gave up on that because people stopped reading blogs, and now I just go on to other people's podcasts and I talk there.
Yay!
But yeah, if you go to my website, you can also, every single book is there. You can look at it. You can, you know, follow links to legitimate sellers, and you can get an idea of what the book is about, all of that kind of groovy stuff. And you can find my fiction there too, in case you're curious about that. So deborahblakeauthor.com.
Awesome. And this deck is, congratulations, this deck is fantastic.
Thank you. We're very proud of it.
And you really should be. It's a great gift. It's great if you're not even practicing witchcraft. You don't have to have a furry friend in your home to be able to appreciate it. It's not about that. It is about nature. It is about animals. It is about, in one of the respects, mythological animals. So please don't think it is not just about cats. Although cats are lovely, there are other animals.
Yes, and there is a cat in there, and a lion,
yes,
you know.
And a lion.
But yeah, it is more about connecting with animal spirit and your own spirit.
Which is beautiful, and it's a really cool deck, and it's easy to read. I promise you don't need a degree to be able to use this deck. You will love it. Take my word for it. Deborah, come back on when January happens. What do you say?
I would love to do that. We can talk about both the spell book and the Year in a Day book.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, guys, you heard her commit. Gotcha now. Deborah, thank you so much for coming to hang out with me. It's been a blast, as always. And
I
so
love it. You are one of my favorite people to talk to. I do a lot of podcasts, and you are definitely right at the top of that list. Anytime that you say, come on the show, I'm there.
I love it. Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. That means the world to me. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Next week is the 415. We're going to have a lot to talk about on the 415. And Friday night will be Towson, First Fridays of the month, with the Pagan Pundit. So we are going to have a lot of politics to talk about. Just gird your loins, do whatever you got to do, because it's been interesting, and I'm sure there's going to be more interesting stuff happening before we get to the next episode of the 415. Again, the deck is Everyday Witches Familiars Oracle. It's fantastic. It's so fun. It's so easy. It's so easy to use. Get it for somebody you love. Get it for yourself. It's fantastic. All right, guys, have a fantastic weekend. I will see you later. Bye-bye.